Instead, the government's approach to solving the problems that we're facing is to double down on some of the very red tape mechanisms that have created these problems. That is going to surely increase unemployment beyond 50%.
The South African government is ratcheting up race-based laws. Joining me to discuss is Gabriel Crouse of the Institute of Race Relations. Gabriel, we've had you on the show recently on 2 occasions, and we'll put links to those videos. One discussing the Employment Equity Amendment Bill, and also the proposed changes to South Africa's procurement framework. What are you seeing here in terms of a broader pattern from the government in terms of including racial categories in public policy?
We are unfortunately seeing a doubling down on race-based policies coming out of the ANC-led government. This, in a way, is not surprising. For example, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Thulas Nxesi, demanded last year that a more aggressive strategy be employed in order to achieve a sort of socially engineered demographic representativity at, as he put it, all levels of employment in the workforce. That language was then put into the Employment Equity Amendment Bill, which would empower Minister Nxesi to have the to set quotas across subsectors on a subsector and sub-regional basis across the country. So,
and what is the current status with the EEB? That's before Parliament at the moment.
Yes, so that has been ratified almost entirely by the National Council of Provinces. Because of the regional and sub-regional aspect of the quotas, Parliament's provincial council had to be drawn in order to give its approval. It approved everything excepting the name of the Employment Equity Amendment Bill, which included the number or the date 2021, and that needs to be shifted to 2022. Because of that technical change, Parliament, the National Assembly, has to go through a vote again. The entire Parliament has to vote on it. And that can't happen until Parliament gets back into session. We're in the month of public holidays. Parliament will come back to work somewhere after Workers' Day in May. But I'm told that because its business schedule is quite full with other items on the agenda, it could take weeks, if not months, for Parliament to vote it through. Once that happens, President Ramaphosa has the power to veto this bill on the basis that it's unconstitutional. That's an argument that's been made by legal experts at the IRR.
Okay, and the IRR is running a campaign, which we can link to below, encouraging citizens to urge the president not to sign that bill should it be passed by Parliament. But it's good to see some sand in the gears there in Parliament. All right, and now what about the Public Procurement Framework Act? Because we had this Constitutional Court judgment earlier in the year, which knocked down some of the BE provisions in that piece of legislation regarding state procurement. Is there a relationship here between these 2 pieces of legislation that we've been discussing?
Yeah, there's a direct relationship. So since 2017, under the Framework Act, there were regulations that allowed government to silence businesses that were trying to name their price. On a racial basis, a business could be disqualified from even saying how much it's willing to charge for a particular service or good. And one of the reasons that this is very important is that it's impossible to know how much is being expended as a premium on BEE points if you don't know what the lowest bid offering was. The pre-disqualification criteria made the cheapest price invisible. That was then struck down by the Supreme Court of Appeal in November 2020. The strike down was upheld by the Constitutional Court earlier this year. And that invalidated a whole lot of regulations, putting the procurement process somewhat in limbo for those who were trying to pursue a race-based procurement policy. Our advice was, well, Treasury should grant exemptions from the BEE point system until clarity is achieved. Part of the Treasury's demand was, in fact, just to stop all procurement until a new BEE point system could be put in place. The Procurement Framework Act regulations aim to bring back some of the BEE point system, but not the pre-qualification criteria. The EEB bill, the Employment Equity Amendment Bill, that aims to bring back the qualification criteria, because it explicitly empowers the ministry to prevent businesses from being able to offer bids to government if they lack a certificate, which is to be denied on the basis of failing to meet quotas, racial quotas.
All right, so Gabriel, I think these laws fly in the face of the non-racial criteria that are in Section 1 of the Constitution. But there's also this commercial concern that you're raising, that potentially this is going to impact the private sector quite significantly. What do you think are some of the risks there in terms of our economy?
To give a sense of how this will actually work, just look simply at how race quotas have worked in the public sector. Because what these combinations will do is put that into the private sector. In the public sector, there has been a Barnard test. The case was Renate Barnard, who in the mid-2000s was explicitly denied a post in the public sector, in the police, on the basis that she was a white woman and there were, quote unquote, too many white women already there. The post was left vacant. So the ruling was, it's better to not have anyone do the job than for someone of the wrong social identity category to do the job. That was upheld by the Constitutional Court, and that has been official policy in various organs of state ever since. The EEB bill, combined with the new framework regulations, would allow that same racially exclusive hard quota system to be applied nationwide across the private sector, with scant exemptions for very small businesses. The impact of that is going to be immediately to send a signal to markets and investors that the government's approach to solving the problems of unemployment, of poverty, and of pernicious forms of inequality is not to free up market dynamism, to increase potential return on investment that will attract the kinds of business activities that would grow jobs. Instead, the government's approach to solving the problems that we're facing is to double down on some of the very red tape mechanisms that have created these problems. That is going to surely increase unemployment beyond 50%. That is a hard prediction that's been made by analysts at the IRR side of things. And it's a dire warning for especially poor South Africans. But I think the economic impact will be so great that, notwithstanding the benefits for some of the more connected business operators in South Africa, it's going to be tough on big business too.
So Gabriel, what do you think this suggests about the ideological orientation of the government?
Everybody agrees that BEE has not been working. The question is what to do about it. And there are two solutions on offer. The one is to make it more aggressive, in the words of Minister Thulas Nxesi, or to intensify it, in the words of President Cyril Ramaphosa. The other option is to turn away from it and allow merit and value for money to be the defining principles of business, and non-racialism to be the defining social principle by which we engage as humans and as citizens of the same country. Our polls by Stats SA, polls by Afrobarometer, all show that South Africans would much rather go by merit, would much rather identify as South Africans first, and would like opportunities and value for money to be emphasized. That is not the option being taken by government at this stage. And the historical reminder that I keep confronting is South Africa in 1947. It was facing difficult challenges from a race-based system that was getting in the way of ordinary South Africans' ability to flourish. The option that was chosen was to double down on that in an unforgettable and wicked way. I worry that a similar, if slightly dilute, version of the same thing is not happening today.
Gabriel Crouse, thank you very much. Let's hand over to you, our audience. What do you think is the risk of race-based policies for South Africa's economy, as well as society at large? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. And the two other videos that we referred to in this interview are linked over here and over here. So if you would like more context on these two pieces of legislation, you can follow those videos. Also, you can subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. My name is David Ansara. This is the CRA. Until next time, take care.